So the colour and the transparency of the facade was really a way of saying, when you're on the other side of the valley in Sheffield, it's talking to you, it's smiling back at you.
The real trick there is the amount of light that's now in the apartment. So when you saw originally, when you look at the second phase, you'll see that each sort of concrete aperture or bay, if you like, is 2/3 brickwork, 1/3 glazed. Those proportions have been switched, so you've now got 2/3 glazed, 1/3 solid, and for that solid we've obviously chosen anodised aluminium, which is just a fantastic material in terms of its sparkle and lustre. Depending on the light as well, it changes its appearance. You know, with English heritage there was a big sort of conversation about the brickwork and do we retain it and is it really what we're after, and certainly from Splash's point of view, again, one of the main things was this desirability and wanting to create a new Parkhill, but in essence retaining Parkhill. I mean, it's undeniable. You could arrive here and you'd still know this was Parkhill, even though the facade's changed. It's the concrete that's the strength of the structure, and that's something that clearly was passionate about with English heritage, and clearly we wanted to retain that as well. So, you know, elements like that, but clearly things like each of the sort of the streets in the sky, which again became fairly famous as well in terms of this being a deck level access scheme. Each street was delineated by that colour of brickwork. So it's, if you like, it's the jam in the sandwich in terms of the street sits in the middle and you go above and below depending on what type of flat you're in. And again, by keeping that banding of colour, albeit in a little bit more sort of brighter, etc., you still keep that sort of history in terms of delineating the street that you're on.
And what sort of state was it in structurally? From the architects?
I mean, the frame itself, we obviously did extensive testing, and that was found to be basically fundamentally sound, but it's the cosmetics really. So that we had to do, I think, somewhere in the order of 4,000 repairs.
5,500 individual repairs.
There's nothing is square, absolutely nothing, and this is kind of testament to Urban Splash build, is that they've had to tailor everything to go back very specifically to meet all the kind of strange, distorted junctions.
Basically, all of the brickwork, both on the facade and blockwork internally, was all removed. It was taken to the middle of the site where it was crushed and reused to set the new levels of the site. Nothing was taken off site. What it then left was just the frame on its own.
Yes.
And you get to each concrete repair and the reinforcement's rusted, pops the front of the concrete off. We highlight that, you then take the repair, to its extreme. Some are this big and some are, huge.
Yes.
And basically you highlight that, you break it out more to get to the reinforcement. You then coat the reinforcement itself with an anti-corrosion treatment, and then you basically put the repair back and try and match sort of wherever you see board marks and stuff like that as best as you can, just to keep some of the continuity.
And we had long debates, didn't we, about it should look like an old pair of jeans, something that kind of looks lived in, but clearly to an investor or somebody who's wanting to spend some money on an apartment, it's about the level of confidence you're going to give in terms of visual appearance.
So it's compromise between baggy jeans
it is, and we had a discussion about how much that repair should be concealed or revealed. Or
I think we can say we had a really good relationship with English heritage. The most important thing was that Parkhill comes alive again, and I think that's the element that is, when I first came to Parkhill, I thought, my goodness, how are we going to turn this round? And you can either fall into one category and say it should be demolished, it's too late, or you have to completely fall in love with it. And at the time, that was the kind of motto, I love Parkhill, will you marry me?
What we decided basically from the client side was that ultimately this is our front garden, this entire section here that sits onto the city. When I first saw the plans, we'd got this zigzagging sort of path down the road, and I said, that is fantastic. The idea clearly is to create a completely different feel when you arrive at Parkhill. The car almost becomes secondary, even though it's shared spaces. So there's a dual aspect.
Yeah.
So basically what we wanted to do was create a big gesture, and ultimately that big gesture became a big cut through the building. That's £1.5 million worth of sort of engineering, frankly, to hold 9 stories above you. So the point was, if you're going to spend those sorts of sums of money, it needs to work a little bit harder. Collectively, we all worked together to sort of engineer a solution that could achieve that sort of generosity in space, but ultimately also be, you know, the front door where the concierge sits.
The old street in the sky was that width, and we've gained all that space, which is, in terms of the flat arrangement, gained us the necessary square meters.
Yeah.
It also allowed us to put those windows, which are then replicated all the length of the
And it's
corridor.
space that's more use inside than out, isn't it?
And
Because
you
you've still got a very generous
You
street
can
here
still
anyway.
drive away.
Still get it, yeah. Mr. Whippy van
You've got fantastic, you know, window proportions, etc. Floor to ceiling glazing, which is one of the things, you know, you really try and want to get in any sort of development, whether it be a house or whatever. But I mean, it's, you know, it makes a massive difference just to sort of well-being and getting as much light into the apartments as possible. Because originally, when you go in some of the original apartments, they are literally dark, and you, in certain situations, you've got to have the lights on the majority of the time.
As long as, if you squint, you still recognise Park Hill as being that elegant grid, that sort of horizontal plane that sort of melts into that undulating landscape, then you've achieved the necessary repair, and you've brought this place to life.